We don't hide away or avoid stressful situations, simply because if we are to look at it, then anything can give us stress. Absolutely anything. So then, sooner or later, understanding rises. It's not about what is the nature of experience, but all boils down to the capacity of metabolizing it. So it boils down to how much fire, how much of that spark of consciousness there, that flame of consciousness that can metabolize that.
I wrote a question down in the book of questions, and that was this morning, but a lot of things happened since morning. A lot of shifts. Especially in the darshan, something was touched. So my question was about emotions and the emotional body, and how to navigate that, because I feel in my life there's a real big tendency to accumulate certain tensions, and I feel like when I release emotionally, it clears me so much and frees me, So originally I wanted to know about, how to navigate with methodologies, but also an approach of relaxing and surrendering, which also releases tension. And what I do normally is go listen to some music, feel touched in the heart, and then it will flow also. Or in meditation, keep my attention on the heart. But there's something else that creates tension in my life, and I believe it's this habit kind of just always trying to make it happen, or trying to do all that I can, or do the best that I can and trying to make life happen, kind of. And this immersion just friggin' destroyed so many, I don't know, so many little parts of that, of what that is built on. And especially in the darshan, oh man, I can't even, it's because I'm still soaking in it. It's still finding its ways in my psyche and in every cell of my body. So I don't really know how to express that, what is finding its way. But it feels like it'll be a relief. Like I don't have to, man. It's like life will live life, And it's like, at the same time, it's like the book has been written already. The book is being written, and the book is being read all at the same time. So I don't know if I have a question, actually.
Great to hear that a lot of, as you have said, whatever nodules, bits and pieces have been what? Destroyed, dissolved, right? Challenged, maybe questioned. And I still trust that you will go back and let life live itself through you, whilst at the very same time doing best you can, right? So no coping out, doing best you can, and being your best, giving your best, because that's the whole point. Being your utmost. So this is clear. Whatever that may be there, life is already predetermined. Everything is predestined. What if it's all scripted and we just live it in blind, in half blind, or by virtue of some self-elimination, we're aware of it. There's no other way. So that's has to be very, very clear. So that what you speak to, like this tension, right? That emotions, what has to move out, and tension. Consider this. There are various perspectives, and also points of view. It depends what point of view we apply. For example, just as an example, Adi Shankara considered in his expositions human life per se, the act, a mere fact of being born and having embodied experience as a stress in consciousness. So that already, you see, already is a stress in consciousness. Because that's what it will be accompanied by. There's no such thing. If there is a body, there would be a stress. So, of course, it's not spoken in kind of like therapeutic, like kind of more of a locally applied manner of understanding of what the commonly we speak of stress, strain. Here he speaks universally. The great sage gives this perspective that this in itself is a stress in consciousness. And that stress needs to be resolved. So that perspective, let's say, instead of calling it avidya, ignorance, it's just that something is in a state of potential stress. In some cases, perpetual stress. We know in many, many cases, and many, like if people are only honest with themselves, they live in a state of perpetual stress. We know that that is also a collective state of affairs. It's the whole entire civilization today lives at a perpetual state of stress. In fact, stress is, it's a business. Stress sells. Stress is what makes you buy. It's what makes you do this and that, what makes you move and shake in that sense. Stress is what makes you tiptoe and this and that and, not allowing yourself to relax because it doesn't matter what. You have to be constantly in a state of stress. And then there has to be something applied sort of to relieve oneself from stress. So there needs to be also understanding. There needs to be this clear, maybe once and for all kind of understanding. And once and for all. It's perhaps the best approach. Rather than leaving it half unanswered, half kind of dealt with, is that there will be stress. Like in that movie, there will be blood. Martin Scorsese, right, with Daniel Day-Lewis. So there will be stress. Why? Well, because that's part of life. Maybe it's a modern life, maybe it's Kali Yuga. Whatever may be, fact is, that's what's happening. So, looking for a possibility of living stress-free life is almost like, waiting for the Prince Charming. Not good for a boy, not good for a girl. Because he ain't coming, that Prince Charming. Well, in your case, maybe it will be, I don't know, what would that be? Princess Charming? Right? So we don't hide away or avoid stressful situations simply because if we are to look at it, then anything can give us stress. Absolutely anything. So then, sooner or later, understanding rises. It's not about what is the nature of experience, but all boils down to the capacity of metabolizing it. So it boils down to how much fire, how much of that spark of consciousness there, that flame of consciousness that can metabolize that, because it's a property of that, what exemplified here by the fire element. So it is not staying in stress-free environment, although sometimes that's what one would be almost advised to do. But better still is to create a possibility where your system is wired in such a way that it is so flexible, it's so agile, that it simply refuses to be left any imprint in it. It simply becomes elastic enough, malleable enough. In that respect, like water. It's like whatever shapes you may draw on water, it all goes back to stillness unless there's some kind of external agitation, like a wind. So that is a desired, in a way of living life. It's not becoming indifferent, it's not becoming aloof or numb. This is where we go back to that where you have started with emotions. You didn't develop this, but you speak that it somehow touched you in what we spoke earlier in the discourse. Because the whole point is that we live life fully here, to the fullness of our capacity, which also includes, perhaps, who knows, perhaps, where the hidden threads of that plot is that we feel fully. And unless and until we are capable of feeling fully, we will have to repeat the experiences. Right? Like kind of like invisible exams thrown by life. So this needs to be passed. So this, what it effectively speaking here represented by agile nervous system where one feels everything, moved by everything, but it fails to move one out of one's own core, out of one's own center. It moves. Everything moves me. Everything. Whatever my attention goes to. Someone brings me this news. And if it has this element, then it touches me. It should. Why? Well, because if it's authentic, if it's genuine, what am I in the presence of? Benevolence, of wickedness. I'm not standing aloof. I'm rejoicing and smiling by being witness to acts of benevolence, generosity, beauty, compassion. And I am rightfully bubbled with rage if there is injustice, cowardice, malice. And reaches huge proportions. I have all the right to feel this in my veins. But this does not rob me of that where I am centered. You see? So you will learn. You're bright enough, smart enough to learn how to be able to allow that so that you live life doesn't pass you by. So you don't hide in some crevices, in some bubbles, as our first interaction some time ago, not long ago at all, in Vienna, right? So we don't hide somewhere in this kind of like half-baked philosophies or half-baked perspectives. We don't we don't find for ourselves excuses for bypass, sometimes enormous bypass, for being exempted. Whilst at the very same time, we are not to be thwarted by it all. So therefore you need to learn how to find a way to shake with it, you see? So whatever is there, as long as it doesn't leave an imprint. We have enough imprints to deal with. These imprints that impressed us, and that left pressure, pressed into us in something that is like a mold. Every experience has that capacity, that tendency. Whatever that form presses, stays in the system. It should be yes, and then it reabsorbed. For that, you need, of course, to have ways of how, and quickly you will learn how it works. And then it will become seamless. You live life fully, you're fully engaged, fully responsive in your full emotional capacity, whatever situation required, whatever situation is asking for, whilst at the same time you remain serene. See, if you need to plant that tender, gentle kiss on someone's neck, doesn't matter how you feel in that moment, you're always ready. If you want to touch child's face or head, your child, or, because that's what they, in the moment, asking for. Doesn't matter how busy your hands. Or someone's head needs to be chopped clean. You do just that. And back there into the scaffolds, into the scabbard. You don't need to carry it out. Metaphor, of course. Metaphor. Because there are situations in life where we need to have that sort of discrimination. And sometimes we need to chop things. Literally. Because also it's our job as a man. See? The time of warriors is gone. The time when warrior was a caste, respected. This society, that society, whatever hierarchy, still quite up there. Passed on from heart to heart, breath to breath, son to father. Father to son. We live in time when there's no need. It's a machine, killing machine, faceless soldier, now about to be replaced for lobotomized brains and potentially artificial intelligence and all that. Right? So this is why it travels underground. It goes into the gangs, mafias, various kind of underground gatherings. Because that spirit has to express itself. Because you and I have no place in society left. Well, I don't know what the ancestry, you see? In my dreams, I don't dig in earth. I love gardening, but only to, excuse me, pick the flowers, mostly. But chopping people in half is part and parcel. My granddad used to be known for that. He was a Cossack on mother's side. So I cannot be ashamed of that. You see? But there's no place for Cossacks today. But the energy is there. You see? So this is, I'm very glad. I'm happy to see how you understand this. How you understand that tenderness that we have to tend to always. Whilst at the same time we need to be, when it comes to the matters of integrity, uncompromising, as that katana. Bend it over so many times, it cut iron rod in half, let alone bamboo. When it comes to principles. You know the definition of the sage? Lighter than the feather when it comes to the matters of the heart. Firmer than the steel when it comes to the matters of integrity. That's the code we live by. That's the code we should be ready to die for. At all times. I'm not exaggerating, I'm not making it up, I'm not painting it so as to make it more, impressing young head like yours. But I don't think, I don't feel like hiding all this anymore. You see? So, be your best, do your best. Keep to that.